Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Hey, if you use Amazon to do any online shopping, you could actually be supporting the David Pakman Show. Here's how. You go to our website, davidpakman.com. On the right side of the website, you scroll down, there's a link to Amazon. You click that, you do your shopping, you check out, you won't see anything different, but Amazon will send us back 7% of your purchase. Doesn't cost you any extra. You can, of course, also become a David Pakman Show member, which is made possible in part by liberalbias.com. Louis, you know that in a free society, everyone could just vote on what theories to believe. When elite scientists rely on these so-called facts, that's the word they use, facts, it just shows they have a liberal bias. Find out more at liberalbias.com. Today's new member of the day is David Beversdorf. David, thank you for becoming a David Pakman Show member. You are doing a fantastic thing, helping to keep the show expanding on 160 at this point, radio and television stations, in addition to DirecTV and Dish Network.
Agreed.
Little bit of a housekeeping note. It's annoying when this happens, but we have no other way of getting a hold of Mitz Takayasu. Mitz Takayasu, you signed up for a membership a few days ago. We emailed you, and the email bounced. So you probably think we're ignoring you. It's actually just that your email is bouncing. We have no way of getting you your membership information. If you hear this, if anybody knows Mitz Takayasu, please let him know. He's got to figure something out. He's got to, email from some other email address or something. We've got to get him set up. Right. I'm sure he's dying to hear the bonus show.
No doubt.
Absolutely. Somalia. The Somalia famine that lasted from 2010 to 2012 has now been identified as the worst in the past 25 years. It's been mostly ignored by corporate media. If you do a Google News search for Somalia, even though this information is now widely available, you'll see some foreign media coverage about it. U.S. coverage is mostly just about a car bomb that killed a few people in Somalia. Nearly 260,000 people died in parts of Somalia between October of 2010 and April of 2012. We're talking about not even 2 years here, Louis. It's really a year and a half.
Right.
And 133,000 of those, about half, were children. The worst famine in 25 years. And now we have this study, which was commissioned and funded by the Food and Agriculture Organization's Food Security and Nutrition Analysis Unit, specifically for Somalia. And the figure is higher than the death toll from the 1992 famine, during which 220,000 people died over 12 months. Percentage-wise, it is less percent of the Somalian population that died because the overall population is bigger now. And the study suggests that about 5% of the total population and 10% of children under 5 died during the crisis period. I mean, I don't think about that. 10% of kindergartners, preschoolers, and babies, right, to give an age range, died. 1 out of 10. It's incredible. And the lack of coverage is also incredible.
Right, but not really surprising.
Not surprising. I was thinking about this.
Generally all across Africa, even in when people are dying from civil wars or other types of extreme violence, we rarely hear about it.
Do you think, I was trying to figure out why is this? And there's the kind of the obvious reasons of, well, it doesn't really serve the corporate media narrative and it's not controversial enough or profitable enough, etc. I'm actually interested to explore whether the fact that even though the number of people who died is huge, we don't really have specific stories. Like, it would cost a lot of money to go over there and to try to talk to specific family members. And even though the number of people that died is huge, maybe to be a story that's attractive to corporate media, you need specific victims, right? Like in the Boston Marathon bombing. It's like, here's a specific group. We know who they are. We know their backstory. We've got their Facebook pictures, etc. We can build this narrative around them, and that's what makes it compelling to corporate media. I'm just theorizing. Do you think that's an element?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and we see that all the time. Even unfortunately, a lot of the stories we cover involve a small number of people, and there's a story around it, and that's what people find compelling. When lots of people die at once, it's just really not that much of a story because you don't have faces that you can point to, things that you can relate to.
What do you think, Natan? Is that an element you're identifying as well?
Yeah, I think that in general on TV news, international news is covered very little in general. So, like, I'd say over 90% of the coverage is U.S. news. And then from the other 10%, most of it is from rich countries like Western Europe. And there's occasionally something from Latin America, like a few few months ago, the Venezuela thing when Hugo Chavez died, things like that.
Right.
But for the most part, it's just not covered. And Africa is particularly sort of immune to the reasons why something would get covered, which is that it's related to corporate media's interests. So, and also, I don't think it's necessarily that they don't want to pay for, a couple journalists to fly over and find a good story.
But it's like, what is the specific story?
Sometimes those stories do appear on like 60 Minutes. There'll be like a special segment where there's one good story that comes from a place like Somalia.
Right.
But in general, this isn't, I guess they don't consider that it's a part of their marketing strategy. I guess that's the best explanation.